Well, I'm going to try this again. Apparently, I have a bad connection out here in the shed. I mean, in the cottage. I do have a man coming on the 28th to make sure that my internet works out here in the cottage. He was supposed to already come, but I had to reschedule because we had a doctor's appointment. Anyway, I'm going to try to show y'all some of my artwork. And then I'm going to tell you that I'm going to be doing some artwork painting classes online soon. I'm starting I used to be in grief ministry and I failed at grief really badly. So I went back to the grief ministry information that I have, and I'm gonna create a 12-week program, a course that people can take when they are in grief to try to help them walk through that if I can. So anyway, I'm getting that all set up. Anyway, and why am I doing these things? Because my husband has some medical issues and I need to start working again. So anyway, here are some of my paintings, and I was teasing about my sister. I won't say which one. I think I already did. Anyway, I wanted to paint something with her, and this is what she chose, and I absolutely love it. It's so cute, and you know, it's just pretend. So here's some of the paintings that I did with her, and then I'm going to show you some of my other paintings, and then I'm going to tell the story about the lady in pink. And this may, I don't know if this is still recording. It looks like it is, but anyway, this may cut off, and if it does, well then just catch me tomorrow and I'll do it inside the house if it won't pick up out here in the cottage. Here we go. I'm going to turn this around so you can see the paintings. Let's see. This is the one that I did with my sister. It is so darn cute, and I'm gonna offer that in one of my classes. I'll do a better job of recording on another day, y'all. I'm just doing a quick live here before we go to the pharmacy to get medicine and stuff. And this is one of my favorite paintings, y'all. This is so much fun to paint, and I'm gonna offer that in probably September. I've got to get my party set up. That's what I did last year. And then this one's another one. Let me find another one for, Halloween or Thanksgiving. But here's another pumpkin one. This one was a lot of fun. I did a reel on this one. Y'all may be able to see that if you look back on, maybe if you go to my YouTube channel, it's Cathy Cockrum. And then here's the one that everybody really loves. This is the cow, the Highlander cow, Christmas cow. And this one is so much fun to paint. Anyway, I have several others. And a lot of them, even families did together in groups and let their children join in. So this is one that was really fun to paint. This is the peppermint elf. And then we had a little snowman. And I just wanted to show y'all one more, I think, that we did, that I've been doing this spring, and that is this hummingbird. She was so pretty. All of these are so much fun to paint. Anyway, that's the art. I'm always going to show y'all my art, my hobbies. I think they reconnected me. It keeps saying slow connection, and then it says disconnected and reconnect. So anyway, I'm going to show y'all some jewelry that I've started ordering, that I'm helping my friend promote. She is so sweet, does such a good job, and she does this cute jewelry. It's called paparazzi jewelry, and I will put a link to her her store. I'll put a link to her store when I get all of my links going. I'm gonna have an Amazon store to sell some things that I like to use. And I used to do this kind of stuff all the time, y'all, and I haven't done anything in a long time. And I'm getting back into the groove. I wanted to show y'all something else. I don't know what this is, though. I think this is a free gift she gave me, actually. I have bought several things. No, I bought this, I think. Anyway, I bought several things from her, and it's only $8. Like this was $8. It's the necklace, and it has little earrings with it. All of them have a necklace and earrings. Anyway, her name is Sharon, and I will put a link to her store. Anyway, okay, now I'm going to get to the story. And I would really probably sit down tomorrow, if I can, around 10, and tell the story again inside if the connection keeps getting lost out here. Okay, so I thought about what story should I tell today. I was going to tell a really long story, but I kind of probably have to warn y'all before I tell that one because it takes a little while to tell it. It's a story about healing and a miraculous thing that happened to me when I got healed from a bad tumor that I had between my brain and my spine. But anyway, I'm healed from that, and I do have that story, but that's going to be on another day. So today I'm going to tell the Lady in Pink because I've had requests for this story. Now this is something that happened after my book, Surrounded by Spirits. There's a lot of stories in Surrounded by Spirits, and this story is in there actually. I think I put this story in there. Y'all, I get mixed up because I have 4 books. But anyway, I think I wrote this story or a little bit about the story in that book. Yes, I did, because it happened during that time. So it happened after I had had the experience with the ghost in the salon. And so what happened was I was standing there doing a customer one day in my hair salon, and the phone rang, and it was my mother. And she said, "Honey, this is Mom. I want you to turn the TV on." And I said, "Well, Mother, I can't turn the TV on right now. I'm doing a client." I had 4 little TVs in my hair salon so everybody could watch TV when they were getting their hair done, or the stylist could watch and the nail techs could watch the TV when they didn't have clients and they were bored. So anyway, I said, "Mother, I'm busy doing a client. I can't watch TV right now." And she said, "Well, honey, you need to watch this because it's a psychic, and he's on here, and he is telling about how psychics help detectives with, their police work and everything." And I said, "I don't know, Mother, let me ask my customer." So I asked my customer, and because she said, "Because I think you're just like that." This is all when I was still trying to figure out what exactly I was supposed to do with the abilities that I have. And they're not of me, y'all. They're given to me by God, and I want to go do the right thing by them and not practice something I shouldn't practice. So, I had that dilemma for a long time, but now I'm completely at peace with what God does with my gift. But anyway, I asked the customer, "Do you mind if I watch this show?" And she said, "Oh no, I think that would be interesting." So we watched this show about psychics helping detectives, and Mother said that she thought that I needed to go into the police and tell them all of the things that I knew about what had happened in my salon and why I had the ghost activity and everything. And so after watching that program, I decided that I would do that. So I did. I made an appointment to go into the detective's office, the police station, after I watched that show, just to bring them all the information that I had. And anyway, that's all a big part of the story that I told in Surrounded by Spirits. But what happened was, a little bit after that, I watched that show, and I kept saying, "Oh, I'm not getting involved in anything like this," because, I've been raised in church, and I've been taught all the things, and I know what everybody's thinking. And yes, there's a right and a wrong way to do everything. So anyway, and if y'all leave comments, if y'all want to leave a comment for me, I will answer your questions later on when I get a chance to sit down. Anyway, I don't see any comments coming up, and I just sort of popped on here, so probably not many are watching at this time. Anyway, I saw this ad in the paper after I had watched that program, and it was about a psychic coming to the area that I lived in, which was Houston. And it said he was really famous and a good guy as far as I could tell. I read up on him, and I looked at it, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go to this convention, and I am going to just observe this man and see. I'm going to go in there and see if I get the same feelings that he gets or the same information. I mean, do all psychics get the same information, and is the word psychic the right word to use? And all we have is the words that we know, and people define things the way that they have been taught to define them. But I thought, I wonder if me and another person with the same ability could stand in front of the same person and get the same messages about them or for them or whatever. So I thought, well, I'll go in there and I'll just see how it all comes out. If nothing else, I'll just watch what he does and see if I discern the spirits, see if I think this is true or false or what I think. So I made arrangements to go. He was going to be there for the weekend, and I made arrangements to go, and I decided that I was going to stay at the hotel where he was having this show so that I could calm down, because I get anxiety really easily. And when you're a sensitive person, I'm a sensitive. I've been called a crybaby my whole life because I'm very emotional about everything. And, I know that this is both a strength and a weakness. So I try to take it as a strength, and I understand that it's sometimes a weakness. But so I got to the hotel and I stayed, and I was enjoying the hotel, and I bought this. I had this pink suit, a jacket and skirt, and I was going to wear that pink suit and pink shoes, and that's why this is called The Lady in Pink. And I had a pink purse that I was going to carry, and as I was getting ready to go to the event, I opened my purse to fill it up with, to transfer from the things from my other purse, and I found a handkerchief in there that my mother had given me when my grandmother had passed away. My mother had given us a handkerchief to take to my grandmother's funeral. And the first thing that struck me when I found that handkerchief was that my grandmother was there with me. And my grandmother tends to be around me a lot, and I love that. But I said, Grandmother, don't you dare come through at this show. I'm just here to watch, and I don't want to be one of the ones that speak to him, because all the other people that are coming need him, and I don't. I just need to watch and observe and see if I am the same as him or if I'm different in some way. So I had this conversation with my grandmother, who had been passed away for, several years, maybe 2 years by that time, and now it's been several years ago. But anyway, I didn't want her to come through. Then I announced to everybody in my family that's in heaven, I said, y'all do not come through to me at this show, because I'm just going so that I can see if I have the same abilities or if I will pick up anything at all or not. So I thought that would keep everyone, at bay. So I went to the show, and I wound up there were like 2 sections of chairs at the show with an aisleway in between, and I wound up being at the second section. So it's like he started over in the first section and kind of went down the line of each row, and if he would say, I'm getting a father, father figure, and this father was in the military, or, something specific that would cause people to raise their hand, and then they would stand up, and he would give them a message from their loved one. I was not getting anything at all, so I thought, well, see, I'm not like this person at all. There's something else, I don't know. Or it answered the question, can 2 people with the same gift be around the same people and not get messages? Not both of them get messages, or maybe people are supposed to meet the right person for them. You're aligned some way. There's a certain messenger that's supposed to come to you with the messages that you're supposed to get. I was trying to figure out all of those things at that time. I'm probably moving my phone too much. I probably should have set it back up on the light, but I'm just going to hold it for now. I'm trying to make this fast. Anyway, so I sat there, and he's going down the rows, and he's not saying anything bad. All of it seems healing. It helped people. And I thought, well, what is this all about? And then I waited, and he said, well, I think that's when he said, we're going to take a break. So we took a break, like a 5-minute break. He said, this means, go to the restroom and come back. Don't leave the building or anything. It's only going to be a 5-minute break. Well, just before he said that, I always forget parts. Just before he said that, I'm sitting there listening to everything that he's saying, the messages to all the people and everything, and someone put their hands up on my shoulders, and they sort of pushed me to the side, like I was in their way and they couldn't see. So I leaned to the side to get out of their way, And then I turned around and looked back, and there was nobody there. And then this message came to me, and the message was, that's my mother back there. And as he said, that's my mother back there, I saw a lady behind me about 2 rows back, and I was looking at her, and he said, that's my mother. And he said, the psychic isn't going to call on my mother today. He used his name, but I'm not going to use the man's name. He said, but I want you to tell her that I came for her today, and tell her that I love her. And I had never had that happen to me before. And at first, I was going to rebuke it, make it go away and all of those things. But God just gave me a peace. And I said, this is not my show. If I go back there and I tell her anything, they probably have microphones in these seats. They're going to hear me. I'm going to get kicked out of here, and I'm trying to learn. I always argue with the spirits, y'all, when they come through. I always tell them why I don't need to tell their message to somebody. And I try to if I'm going to tell somebody a message, I say, now, I'm sure they didn't mean it this way. And I try to make it more gentle, because sometimes they come through with a harsh correction, And I think that's why in the Bible it says they told the seers to stop seeing and the visionaries to stop having dreams, because they didn't want to hear the reproach of God. So I said, if I get a chance, I'll tell her, but I shouldn't do anything, because it's not my program, and I don't want to get kicked out. So then, like a couple of minutes after that, this psychic, he said, we're going to take a 5-minute bathroom break and drink break, and then get back to your seats. So when he did that, I got up and I went to the bathroom. And as I was coming out, I thought, I guess I'll go tell that lady what he said. So I went over to the lady. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all something else he said, but I'll tell you in a minute. And I went over to where the lady had been, and she was gone. She had on a pink outfit like mine. That's why she had on a pink jacket, almost just like mine. And I thought, well, it's going to be easy for me to remember who she is, because she has on a pink jacket just like mine. So I went over there, and she wasn't there. So I sat down, and there had been a lady sitting next to her. And I sat down next to the lady, and I said, excuse me, I'm sorry to bother you. And she said, yes. And I said, are you with that lady with the pink jacket on? And she said, yes, that's my sister. And I said, well, I needed to tell her something. And she said, what is it? And I said, well, and I told her that I was sitting there, and I had someone lay their hands on my shoulders, and they scooted me to the side. And then they told me that that was their mother, and that they wanted their mother to know that they did come here for her today, but that the psychic was not going to call on her today, and that he wanted me to tell you that he was that he loved her. And she said, oh my gosh, that's my nephew, and that's why she came here, and he was killed in Afghanistan. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Well, I just wanted you to know, I just wanted her to let her know that her son did come here for her, but she's not going to get called on. And he wanted her to know that he showed up for her and he loves her. And she said, okay, I'll tell him. I said, I got to get back to my seat. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get kicked out of here, And so I went back up to my seat, and I sat down, and the psychic kept going through to each person and, helping each person with whatever situation they were going through. And then he started walking around on the stage, and he said, I'm getting a hairdresser. And he started clicking his fingers together like that. He goes, someone who cuts hair. And I went, because he was in my section now, and like a row in front of me where he had gone to, and I knew he was talking about me. And I scooted down in my seat, and I said, grandmother, I told you not to come through. I am not standing up. All of these people here need him. This is a healing experience for them. And I am not standing up because I don't need him. I get it. I'm praying about this. I'm going to figure this out. And then he said, I'm getting a hairdresser. Now I'm getting the name Elizabeth, and I'm getting the name Billy, and I'm getting the name Elizabeth and Billy. And he said, now I'm a small child, and I have passed because of a fall. Well, Elizabeth was my great-grandmother's name. My Billy was a friend of mine who had passed, who I wrote Camouflage Angel because of Billy's influence in my life. And the child that passed was my little brother, died because my stepmother fell when she was carrying him, and he passed 2 weeks later because of the injury from the fall. Well, they said that he was born with a gangrene intestine, so there's, controversy over exactly, the infection basically killed him. So that's my little brother Chad, who I named, and I'm the only one that held when he was living besides my dad, and he bonded with me, and I was 12 years old. And so he had all of those names, and he kept walking across the stage saying, if you're not going to stand up for your family, and I was like, there is no way. I get it, y'all. I got it, that they were there for me. And just knowing that they had come for me and that they still love me where they are in heaven, that healed me. That helped heal me from those hurts. But, the Lord's healed me already a long time ago, but you never get completely over a person, the grief of a person. If you go back to when they passed, you're going to feel all those emotions all over again. It's like digging something up that was buried, So anyway, I learned a lot from going to that program. Oh, I forgot. After that, the psychic went on through, because I wouldn't stand up, and he said, well, if you're not going to stand up for your family, that he was mad, and he went on. So he went on through, and he said, what really bothers me? We were all like, what? He said, somebody who proclaims to be a psychic. Well, first of all, I never proclaimed to be a psychic. But anyway, he said, someone who proclaims to be a psychic, yet when they get a message, all they can really tell you is they're here and they love you. And I thought, he has microphones in these chairs. But I don't. I think he was just a seer and a sensitive like I am. And like I said, what are you supposed to do with that gift, y'all? Church won't let you use it, right? Because it used to be used in church, and they were called seers and prophets. There are some prophet ministries now. I'm just going to leave it at that. But anyway, that is why I call the story The Lady in Pink. It turns out that I had on pink, that lady had on pink, and the person that was the psychic in this program will not call on anyone who has on pink. So isn't that funny that I happened to wear pink that day, and she wore pink? And me being a little bit sarcastic, I don't know, redneck, I don't know what the right name is. I was like, well, if you're such a psychic, then how come you don't know who I am? Why don't you tell me the lady in the pink on the third row, stand up, That's because that's not how it works. So anyway, that is my story about the lady in pink. And I have so many different kinds of stories, y'all. I'm probably sit down and get a little more organized about this. And I did have someone contact me that wants to share their story, so I'm going to get with her and kind of listen to what she has to say and share her story soon. But I'm not sure. I'll probably share my stories and then maybe share someone else's story and then come back to sharing my story. Anyway, that's it. I just wanted to catch y'all up for a minute. I'm fixing to go back in the house, and we're going to go to the pharmacy, and then I'm going to come in here and paint for a little while. I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye.